But one farmer says, seems to me there was a tea party in Boston that was illegal too.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
We shall seek to establish and maintain a dollar which will not change its purchasing and debt-paying power during the succeeding generation.
As anguished shrieks rose up from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Government credit and government currency are really one and the same thing. A reserve of gold and a small reserve of silver.
Why do central banks hold it?
Well, it's a form of reserves.
Why don't they hold diamonds?
Well, it's tradition, long-term tradition.
Well, some people still think it's money.
Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel. And that right there is the Morgan dollar that's always on me, always in my wallet, always ready to engage in an economic conversation with friend, family, acquaintance, any contact, someone who brings up the topic and just wants to talk about it. It's that coin that I use to pull out and use as a physical example of what a dollar was, what it used to represent. And yes, it's not the first silver dollar that was minted in America. However, it was likely the most popular as far as easily recognized by people. It spanned such an incredible part of American history. You know, the first ones being minted in 1878, and that's when mine was minted. 1878, first year. Just a lot of history. You know, it spanned all the way up till 1904, so they ceased minting, and then started up again in 1921. Incredible coin. The back of it being my favorite part. I think the back, just the symmetry of it, the Gothic lettering for "In God We Trust" is pretty cool. When I was a little kid, it really captivated me. It was like the silver dollar. The obverse, never been too big of a fan. I think the details are neat, you know, the hair, the flowers. But Lady Liberty just looks a little bit overweight. She could use to miss a few meals. And I think they could have done a better job making a more beautiful rendition of Lady Liberty, similar to some of the other coins we've seen minted by the U.S. Mint. Now, why are we talking about the Morgan dollar? Because it's a special coin to me. I carry one with me everywhere I go, every day. It's never left my side. It's the coin that I really started collecting first. My brother now has the Morgan collection. Long story, but he has the Morgan collection that I started when I was younger. A lot of really nice pieces in there. There's quite a few of them. And as I stated, it's a coin that I use to put next to US dollars or silver certificates. You guys see it featured here on the channel. It's really a part of who I am. It's the one coin that I carry with me, and you know, it's that last piece of silver. It's my last dollar. Honestly, if I lost everything, I'd still have this silver dollar to buy me a steak dinner somewhere before I was executed or thrown into a CIA slider door van to be interrogated. Now, why am I talking about the Morgan? Because it's in the news. The U.S. Mint wants to do some minting of the Morgan dollars again. So let's go through, let's read the article. We'll talk about it, and I'll add my commentary and what I think should be done at the end of it. We'll just cover the highlights of it. It's been a while since we did some news covering the coinage and mintage, and I always enjoy these. These are just fun. It's an escape from the news, and I like just talking about coins. That's the heart of me with this channel. I mean, it goes back to the origins of it, precious metals, bullion, and my favorite coins. And I've always enjoyed just the conversation about coinage. Now, this article popped up the other day. I thought about talking about it, and then I didn't. I saw it again today, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do a coin story. Let's take a break from the news and talk about what we all love, precious metals, coinage. So the anniversary of the 2021 Morgan dollar may have to be made of gold. Now this, it struck me. I was like, well, wait a minute. It's a silver dollar. It says dollar on the back. And then we all know that a dollar, if you go back to the video where we talk about the origins of the word, the definition why these are called a dollar, is a weight of silver. It's a specific amount of grains, 327, 373. I never can remember the exact grainage. I should commit it to memory, but my brain is getting old and dusty. So it's a specific weight of silver. That's what a dollar is. It comes from the word Wacomstaller or staller. And then those became the Spanish reals, the 8 reals coins, the same weight, and they were circulated around the globe. And then when America adopted that coinage and wanted to have a currency, a coin competing and on the world stage, they made one of a similar weight and size and named it the dollar. So the proposed legislation seeking to commemorate the Morgan and Peace silver dollars for 2021 is languishing in Congress, but the U.S. Mint is looking to mint them out of gold. So I really want to know why that is. I want to get into this. If the U.S. Mint moved forward with plans to strike a gold Morgan dollar in 2021, officials have not disclosed what dies will be used in production. And by dies, I'm assuming they are debating which mint that would be. With the proposed legislation seeking commemorative Morgan and Peace silver dollars for 2021 languishing in Congress, the U.S. Mint is looking at a possible alternative, a 2021 Carson City, or CC, Morgan Gold Dollar. U.S. Mint Director David J. Ryder made that announcement during the 4th Annual Numismatic Forum held October 24th and 25th in Philadelphia. Producing a commemorative silver dollar requires congressional approval, while the Mint has broader authority to issue gold coins without the need for action from Congress. So that's the reason. What a dumb, that's a dumb rule. I mean, I can understand them, only Congress can coin silver or gold, but I don't know why the rule would be different for gold and silver, and why it would be looser where the Mint can just mint gold at any time rather than silver. It's what a gray area. H.R. 3757 was introduced July 16th to authorize production of Morgan and Peace silver dollars to mark the centennial anniversary of the production transition between the two designs in 1921. So that's kind of neat. It's the year where both of the coins were minted, including Morgan dollars struck at the former Carson City Mint in Nevada and a high-relief Peace dollar. Now that should be a pretty coin. I do believe, and I've always felt, the Peace dollar has a more beautiful rendition of Lady Liberty. When I was a kid and I would look at the two coins, it was pretty obvious quickly that the artistic work that went into the face and sculpt by Anthony de Francisci for Lady Liberty on the Peace dollar was just better. It was a more beautiful image. The flowing hair, the facial features, the symmetry, all of it was a prettier coin, in my opinion, than the Morgan dollar. Now, the Morgan dollar is cool because of the time period. It was the silver dollar, really, of the West, coming out in 1878, and just carrying through all of that time period of the gunfighters and all of the history that you think about when you think of the Wild West, the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s. It's just, that's the Morgan dollar kind of holds that mystery of where was this coin, what did it buy, what did it pay for, who carried it, where's it been? All of that surrounds the Morgan dollar for me. Just a lot of interesting history there. But I do believe the Peace dollar is a more beautiful coin. And in reference to this article, we're going to continue in a moment. I just wish they would be struck out of silver, and I wish they would make them with the same dies and really just mint them and issue them in a way that pays homage to these coins, what they represent, where they come from, and the fact that they were never struck out of gold. I mean, if you're going to reintroduce gold coins, do what we did with the high relief. And I'll get into my problems with the U.S. Mint at the end of this video, because I have many. And there's a reason I don't like buying U.S. Mint products that often, unless it's bullion. But they just don't make anything that's interesting. The last coin and the first coin they ever did for a long time was the high relief that you all know as my favorite and what I believe is perhaps the most beautiful coin ever struck. Now what's going to happen with this story? I guess it's still up for debate, but let's take a look. Now let's get into the bureaucratic nightmare that is the minting of coinage. The proposed Morgan and Peace dollar legislation, championed by Thomas J. Urim, chairman of the Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee, and fellow CCAC member Michael Moran, is competing with a number of other commemorative coin bills for 2021. and is not gaining much legislative support, writer said. Now, why is that? Why wouldn't you just support it? It doesn't... frustrating. If the legislation were to pass Congress and become law, an unspecified number of Morgan dollars from the maximum combined output of 500,000 proof and uncirculated Morgan and piece silver dollars authorized in the legislation would be struck with the CC, Carson City Mint mark, at the former Carson City Mint in Nevada, which now houses the Nevada State Museum. And if anyone of you follow the Morgan dollar, you'll know that the Carson City, the CC marked dollars, are some of the most coveted. They're often the rarest and the most in demand for completing a good Morgan collection. Those CCs can be prohibitively expensive, and there's a reason I didn't have many of them whatsoever. The production would likely be executed on a coinage press hauled from a current U.S. Mint production facility, presumably Denver or San Francisco. During the numismatic forum, Ryder said Mint officials were considering production at the former Carson City Mint of a Morgan 1 ounce 999, so 9999 fine gold dollar. The production would presumably be executed under the same discretion exercised in producing the Centennial Gold Winged Liberty Head Dime, Standing Liberty Quarter Dollar, and Walking Liberty Half Dollar in 2016. The West Point Mint strikes the American Buffalo $100 gold coin on 1 ounce 49 gold plankets. It was not disclosed whether a Morgan gold dollar production would require a separately crafted planket. Let me pause for a minute. Now, one of my problems with this is, are they going to change the valuation? Because as you know, any coin minted by the U.S. Mint is legal tender. So it's just dumb to make a dollar out of gold. And it's one of the reasons I think it was kind of dumb to make the other images, the dimes and the quarters and half dollars, because then they would have to strike and change the reverse of it. It will no longer say $1, which kind of changes the symmetry and the circular pattern of lettering that goes around the reverse of the Morgan, which says United States of America, $1. I mean, what are they going to put down there? $100, $25, $50? What are they going to value it at? My guess is they'll probably end up doing it like $100 or something. Because if it's a legal tender, it's going to be pretty dumb to mint them and then have it say $1. However, for tax purposes, it would be kind of nice to, hand it to somebody and you only legally paid them $1. If you can follow me there, if you know what I'm saying. That's the way some people are able to transact in precious metals and kind of shadow the amount of value they are transferring from one individual to another. Because again, if it's struck and it says $1, or even if it says $100, but it's carrying an ounce of gold, it's only, even though its value on the open market in gold is $1,500, it only carries the true value, according to the federal government, of what's minted on the coin, which will be whatever they determine. David Croft, U.S. Mint Associate Director for Manufacturing, noted that transporting the necessary coinage press to Carson City from either San Francisco or Denver, along with its setup and maintenance, would cost roughly $1.8 million. That's just to move a die press and the ability to produce these coins at the Carson City facility, because apparently they don't have a die press or the manufacturing capabilities in Carson City any longer. So they need to move a giant mint press from one of these other mints to Carson City just to be able to mark these and say they struck them there. No discussion disclosed how many Morgan gold dollars might be produced under the Mint's alternate proposal for the Morgan dollar recognition, nor which dies would be used. I just love dropping it. I love holding this slick 1878 Morgan that I carry with me. And as I'm clutching it and looking at these images of some very high dollar, high value Morgans, many of the ones you're seeing here, obviously not in my collection. I borrow these from online sites that are selling them. These are some $60,000, $70,000, $50,000 Morgans. Very rare, proof-like MS-67s, MS-68s. Just incredible, incredible coins here. Immaculate condition, beautiful, beautiful coins. And look at them. I mean, you just take a look here. They're all struck, obviously, out of silver. And this is what I believe the mint should go for. And I wouldn't even be opposed to the mint striking them, not out of 3/9 silver, but out of the same metal content and purity of the original Morgan silver dollars. Now that would be 90% silver, 10% copper. Some might disagree with that and say, oh no, they need to be 3/9 or 4/9 silver and carry a full ounce of silver. However, I'm of the belief that if you're going to mint these and you're going to pay homage and do honor of the coin in all of its splendor, mint them the same way. Make them the same purity. Make them exactly the same as the originals. Of course, with the newer date. It would say 2021 rather than 1921. And on the reverse, just leave it, $1. Use the same reverse die. Make them the same type of coin. Similar to the ultra high reliefs that they issued back in 2007. Instead of it being in Roman numerals 1907, it reads 2007. It's essentially, an identical coin, the same way Augustus St. Gaudens wanted it to be minted originally. And I think that these coins need to be struck out of silver. And I'd meet them part way and say, okay, let's make them out of fine silver, 999. But to mint them out of gold, to me, is just not right. It just doesn't sit well with me. I don't even want to see the Morgan image or the piece dollar image struck in gold. It doesn't sit well. I believe in leaving the gold coins of the past in gold, and there's plenty to choose from that they could mint today and reissue and do special runs of the various gold coins that we saw throughout U.S. history. And the silver coins, I believe they could continue doing special runs of the silver coins and just leave it at that. There's no real reason to mint this coin out of gold. Now, you might call me picky or nitpicky or just maybe I'm just an old coin codger, even though I'm not that old. I'm not that old. It's just a point. It's something that it just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know how it is with you guys. I'd love to see your opinions on it. But, if these come out in silver, and there's only 500,000 of them, I can assure you I would like to pick one up if I can. It would be nice to have in a case somewhere and part of my collection. And I got to tell you, if you don't have one yet, they're very easy to come by. You don't need to buy or have an MS-67 or a proof-like Carson City Morgan dollar. Go to your local coin shop, hunt around, look for a coin. Even on some of the sites, you can find bulk Morgans, slicks, worn coins. The 1878 that I carry around is not that rough. I mean, you can see it in the pictures there. It's got a lot of detail left. And again, this thing lives in my wallet, so it's on me. It's moving around. It's kind of getting a little bit of wear probably at the high points. But that 10% copper does harden it up, helps it hold up over time. And it's just fun to pull out and handle it and hold it. And there's a reason I carry the 1878, because it is the first year issue and it's the oldest Morgan that you can really get your hands on. And if you go back, I do have some stories on the channel about silver in U.S. history. We talk about some of the old silver acts and executive orders, things that were done in the silver markets with the discovery of the lodes of silver in the West, Pikes Peak, just the glut of silver that hit the market back then. I mean, you look at the original mintings, the populations of those early year Morgans, just how much silver they were cranking out, how much silver they found, and what it did for the U.S. economy, the effects that it had. Again, part of the history, part of the allure of holding and owning a Morgan dollar. It's a cool coin, really is. And so that's my comments, my opinion on this commemoration, this reintroduction, the reminting of the Morgans. I think they're really doing it an injustice if they strike it out of gold. It's just, it doesn't belong. It was never struck out of gold, and it's not a gold coin. It's a dollar, and a dollar is a specific weight in silver. So that's why I think they should leave it at that. Mint these out of silver. Mint some proofs out of silver. It'd be beautiful. Imagine Morgans and peace dollars, same weight, same size, same die strike, out of silver and struck in the proof, you could really come up with some beautiful coinage, and I think collectors would seize that opportunity. I just don't know. The gold thing, nah. Junius Maltby is opposed to it. Well, that's today's broadcast. That's today's coin discussion. I hope you enjoyed it. It was fun for me to take this coin out, handle it, drop it on the table, and talk about Morgans with all of you, my passion for them. And I would love to one day get my hands back on my brother's collection. He told me he'd sell it back to me. However, I do not have the means to accomplish that at any time. But I sure would love to go through that collection at some point and just show you guys some of the Morgans I used to hold. I'm very curious now what the value is on some of those Morgans, because I started that collection when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I was going to a coin shop. This will be fun. We'll have story time now. I'd go to this coin shop. I'd often ride my bike there or walk. It wasn't very far from my house. It was somewhat near my grandmother's house in the town I grew up in. And I'd go to this little coin shop, and it was very small, indoor. Obviously, it was indoors, but a shop. But it was a very small little shop, narrow. If I think back, I've driven by it when I visited the town years ago. No more than 15 feet wide, and it was probably about 20, 30 something feet deep. This coin shop, a narrow little shop. The counter was on the left. There were 2 elderly gentlemen that worked there that came to know me quite well, as I was a little coin nerd back then. And on the right side of the room was a large glass case, and behind it would be coins, lots of coins, many coins, posted up that you could bid on. They would have these bidding auctions where you would write down your auction number. Everyone was assigned one. You would sign up for one, and I had my auction number, even as a little boy. And you could go up to this board and pick out, there'd be different coins on the board, and you could write what you would pay for that coin. And then every, Wednesday or every Friday afternoon at a certain time, the bidding would close at like 3 o'clock. And that was it. No more bids would be accepted. And whoever had written the highest price, and I forget the increments, if it was 50 cents or $1 that you'd have to write in on top of the previous price, you would then win that coin and pay for it. So I was able to accumulate some very nice Morgans in doing that. And I remember being a little kid surrounded by guys, much taller than me, because I was obviously younger and shorter. And I'd be reaching up and leaning up there to pen in or pencil in the price I wanted to pay for a certain Morgan, a date that maybe I needed. And they would laugh. And there were many times, just because I was young and I was the only kid in there, these guys would let me win certain auctions just because I was there. And I think back fondly on those memories and how fun it was to sit in that coin shop and be writing in, scribbling on that paper what I wanted to bid for a coin, and taking part in that process and hearing the chuckles and seeing the older men around me, laugh as I tried to outbid another guy. Because there were times where they weren't having it. There was a gentleman there that would want the coin that I wanted, and he'd write in his price as the clock's ticking down, and I'd go back up to the board with my pen or pencil, and I would write in a price. He'd go back, he'd write in his, and then we'd think about it. And when the clock finally struck and the bidding closed, one of us would win the coin. And there were many times that I walked away with a coin or won that coin at the last possible second, because I jumped back up at the board and wrote in another price, and boom, snapped the fingers, I grabbed the coin. It was mine. And it was fun. It was a good time. And I accumulated a lot of really nice Morgans, all of them in the MS-60 range. I was always going for MS-67s, 65s, and I was able to snatch some of those up back in the day. And today, I'm very curious. I haven't looked at those Morgans in probably 20 years. So I'm very curious. None of them were slabbed. None of them were graded back then. These were just graded by the coin experts there. And I do trust them, and I know they weren't cleaned. These guys were very fastidious. These were some of the old school coin guys. I mean, the ones that really laid the foundation for collecting. And just experts at grading and the coin world back at the time before the internet. I mean, this was back when it was just the Red Book and other coin grading books And these guys, yeah, I believe they're both passed away now. They really helped me. They made me come to love coinage collecting. And I have a lot of incredible memories from that coin shop. That was my coin shop. That was the one that really started it all for me. It's where I got my first American Silver Eagle. And it's the one that I would bug and call in the morning sometimes. I think I've told this story in the past where I'd make that phone call to find out what the spot prices were on metals. And back then it wasn't changing very often. But I do remember making phone calls asking for the spot price of silver. And believe it or not, hearing numbers like $4 and something cents or $5. You know, I believe there were even times where it was under $4 for an ounce of silver. But just think of that, making phone calls and hearing them quote the spot price for a silver ounce at $3, $4, or $5, or $6, $7 an ounce. Just incredible back then. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of it under $7. I remember, $5 being a very common ounce price for silver back then. But yeah, one of these days, I'll be able to get maybe a large donation to the Junius Maltby channel, and I'll hand it off to my brother and be like, hey, I want the Morgan collection. The viewers want to see it on display, back in the hands of Junius. He is interested in selling it. I know that he could use some money, so he's doing his things, running life. But they're just sitting right now in a big plastic tote in his closet, wherever he is. So that location will not be disclosed, obviously. But I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, being part of the Junius Maltby channel. If you stuck around for 26 minutes of Morgan conversation and coin stories, you are definitely a bored individual. But yeah, thanks for being here. Don't forget to like the video, share it, subscribe. And as always, I appreciate all of you who participate here in the Junius Maltby channel.